Police officers often believe that they are above the law and can act as they please, but karma has a way of catching up, and it is only a matter of time before they are humbled in courtroom, just like this sheriff who thought that he was untouchable.
Morning, sir. Executing search warrant. Sheriff Lujan.
Search warrant for him or?
For the building as well.
For what?
I have no idea. It's house. But no, just stay here. No, I can't have you enter the scene.
You guys are fucked up, man.
Why are they beating on things?
Let's get him on the opposite side of this truck.
Let's go over, sir.
Cody?
Let's go on the
I can't
opposite
tell.
side.
Sir, let's walk over here.
Why is that? That's messed up.
Let's
Dude.
walk over here.
Sure. That's what I'm saying. Let's get him on the opposite side of this truck.
Well, you got Tabitha over there.
Not yet.
I got the press out here taking pictures of me in handcuffs.
The sheriff was shocked by the circumstances and felt he had too much right to be the target of a search like this. To get him to cooperate with the search, deputies had to use their authority.
Push him around into the doorway. Yeah, push him around into the doorway. At least to the doorway.
Just right here. Don't go
Aye. This is ridiculous.
Keep him up there.
Hold on, we have press.
Keep him up there.
Come over here, sir.
Keep him up there.
Sheriff,
Let's go.
What are you
stop.
doing?
Stop, shit.
Stay out here.
Ah, Jesus. Really?
You don't have to.
Look
just
to
stand.
you. Look behind
just
you.
stand. Just stand.
Stand up, bro. Stand up.
Put him on this side of the truck. Put him on the outside of the truck.
It hurts.
They're loose, sir. They're loose.
No, they're not loose.
They're not even.
Sheriff, those are loose.
So I'm going to read a stipulation.
Can you take these handcuffs off? They hurt. They hurt. Am I under arrest?
You're being detained.
Well, yeah. Why do I have to have cuffs on? They hurt.
The sheriff was advised by the deputies that he was the subject of an active search warrant. When the sheriff realized how serious the issue was, he refused to cooperate and insisted on speaking with his lawyer before taking any more action.
25, 21 units, make sure you guys stay running hot.
So on this is signed by a district court judge. Okay? Judge Bowman. Okay. First judicial. Okay. So this search warrant gives me the authorization to seize your phone. Okay. Search your phone.
Okay.
But it also gives me the authorization. So what I'm asking for you to do is unlock your phone, unlock it, give it back to me, and I'm going to remove the security settings. I don't want your passcode. I'm not asking for your passcode. I'm asking you to unlock the phone. Per the search warrant, you can read it if you want under number 2.
I will if I get a chance to talk to my attorney.
It doesn't work like that.
Marty,
This is not a negotiation.
Mira.
This is not a negotiation, Sheriff. This is not a negotiation.
Given how many warrants he probably handled in his career, it is astonishing that a sheriff would not know how a warrant works. He refused to comply with the deputy's request, which resulted in his arrest.
You can talk to your attorney when this is
I've
all
been
done.
asking.
When this is all done, you can call your attorney. But right now, we're trying to get you to comply with the warrant. The warrant stipulates exactly what we want. You give us that, we'll get the phone, we're out of here. That's it. What do you want to do, Sheriff?
Right now, I am under arrest.
You're
Because
detained.
I am under arrest. I am in handcuffs. I'm not free to leave. I'm not free to leave? Am I free to leave? No. Then if I'm under arrest, I have a right to an attorney, correct?
You do.
Okay.
And I'm not questioning you.
I'm invoking my
telling-
right to
I'm
an attorney
telling-
right now.
Okay.
Do you understand that?
So take him in.
Book me for
Book him for obstruction. Obstruction. Book him.
I'm not obstructing.
Take him over here to our unit. Take him over here to our unit.
Over here, Sheriff. Over here.
Sure.
Just
They're gonna book me.
really
Look at this shit. Look.
stop. Just walk. Just walk.
What are you doing?
The sheriff faced public humiliation right outside of his own office. Instead of giving up his phone to the officers, he chose to be handcuffed.
I'm telling you what the warrant stipulates.
I understand that. And
I told you what the warrant stipulates. You have every opportunity to cooperate. You want to cooperate, you're going to jail. Have a seat, sir.
Alright, man. Why is already
You've been
Take the whole
searched,
thing
really?
off. No, I haven't been searched. Just take
step
me
out
so we
here.
can do it.
I want to make sure you don't have any knives.
I don't have any knives. I don't have any weapons. That's my wallet.
That's your wallet. What's it?
My keys to my truck. I don't have any weapons. Okay? I really don't. You took my weapon. As a matter of fact, you left it on the back of my truck over there. Did you get somebody to secure it,
We'll
please?
secure everything for you. Have a seat.
Can you move these to the front?
No, sir. Against department policy. Have a seat.
Well, it's tighter than hell. They hurt.
Sheriff, those are very, very loose.
Really?
Step
Nah.
out. Let me see if I can fix them. They're very, very loose.
His arrest was not taken lightly by the sheriff's colleagues, who started threatening the Santa Fe deputies. Tensions between the two departments were only heightened by the fact that they were arresting their own sheriff while on Rio Arriba territory.
That's his mag, and then we're gonna get you his sidearm.
Get everything. I don't want part of
We're all
it.
coming up now.
What do you mean everything?
Everything.
So this is what we took off this person? You're the one that took it off this person?
Took it off this person.
Deputy Graves.
Well, inventory before you get it.
We're handing it right over to you.
Inventory. You took it away from me. Look what you guys are doing.
We're trying to do everything peacefully. We tried to. Okay? That's all we're doing. We're done here. We're leaving.
Okay, well, get out of here then. You're done. Get out.
We'll
No.
leave when we're ready.
You said you were done.
Yeah, we're wrapping it up right now. You know how it goes. You know how it goes. We're doing our law enforcement duties. That's it. District court signed it. That's it.
Okay.
Okay, so as soon as
fine.
we're done, we're gonna get out of your hair. Why are you calling everybody here to
This
put them
is our
involved?
house.
Well, right now it's ours.
Oh, you're-
Right now it's ours.
Wow.
We own the building right now.
Shut up.
Don't talk to me
Let's
like
go
that.
over there.
Shut up.
I don't work for you. Don't
Okay.
talk to me like
Shut
that.
up.
Easy,
Go over there.
easy.
Get that and let's go. Are we done in there? Are we done in there? Okay.
The sheriff was taken straight to the police station for further questioning by the deputies, who refused to back down despite the mounting pressure.
I have no idea, sir.
You find nothing?
You go ask her. Well, this is your house. You go ask her.
Oh, no, it's my house.
Yeah, it is now. Because we just gave it back to you.
Ah, these things hurt. God.
The sheriff was ultimately accused of 2 felonies, helping a victim and intimidating a victim. When the case went to trial, the judge gave a harsh verdict, holding the corrupt sheriff completely responsible for his deeds.
The people of Rio Arriba County elected you to be sheriff. They put their trust in you to uphold the law, and you let them down.
Yes, Your Honor, I try to do the best that I can to help everybody I can, and I in no way would want to.
The law is the law. You are not above the law, nor can you ignore the law when it serves your purpose. The sentences will be served consecutively for a total of 4.5 years, of which 3 years of imprisonment and 1.5 years supervised probation. You let down the people of Rio Arriba County, and you let down the Sheriff's Department, the department that you led. What kind of example were you giving the people that you supervise?
He resigned as sheriff one day after being found guilty and was sentenced to a 3-year jail sentence. This next officer did not care about his actions, even in the presence of an 8-year-old.
It's the jury having found you guilty of the offense of manslaughter and assessed this punishment.
Dean was initially charged with the murder of Jefferson. However, the judge told the jury that they might also consider a manslaughter conviction prior to the panel's deliberation. A manslaughter conviction in Texas can result in a maximum sentence of 20 years in jail.
Verdict reads, we the jury, having found the defendant Aaron York Dean guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of the offense of manslaughter, assess his punishment at confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for 11 years, 10 months, 12 days. They do not assess a fine. And it is signed by the presiding juror. You may be seated. Thank you very much. Members of the jury, as we went through before, I'm going to call your juror number and ask you if this verdict is your individual verdict. Juror number 1, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror number 3, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror number 4, is this your verdict?
Yes,
Juror number 6, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror number 9, is this your verdict? Juror number 14, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror number 15, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror number 21, is this your verdict? Juror number 31, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror number 32, is this your verdict? Juror number 37, is this your verdict? Juror number 38, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your verdict will be received and filed. Thank you very much.
The main question at trial was whether Dean knew Jefferson was carrying a weapon. In his testimony, Dean claimed to have seen her weapon, but the prosecution said that the evidence did not support this claim.
It's the jury having found you guilty of the offense of manslaughter and assessed this punishment. It's the order of the court you be remanded to the custody of the sheriff, be delivered to the director of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice to serve your sentence as required by law. You will receive credit for all the time that you have served in custody on this case from the date of your original arrest up until today, which would be the date of sentence. You have the right to appeal the jury's decision. You do so by giving written notice of appeal to the Second Court of Appeals here in Fort Worth within 30 days. If you are indigent and cannot afford a lawyer, I would conduct an indigency hearing to determine if you are indigent. And if you are indigent, I would appoint a lawyer to represent you on appeal and provide you a record of this appeal of this trial at no cost. Mr. Gill, Mr. Brissett, y'all will remain on his case pending his decision whether he wishes to appeal, and if you'll furnish the information for the trial court certification of appeal before you leave here today, I would appreciate it. Is there an allocution? You may be seated. Thank you very much.
The cop received a sentence of over 12 years in jail after being found guilty of manslaughter. Later on, a $3.5 million settlement was also approved for the boy who saw his aunt getting shot to death through her home's window. The saga of evil cops just doesn't end here. This next officer didn't hesitate to shoot a schizophrenic patient. On January 15th, 2020, employees at an AT&T shop on Main Avenue reported a client yelling at workers and brandishing a knife, prompting Norwalk police to come to the scene. When he was asked to leave, the man tried to take a cell phone, but the clerk was able to get it back from him. Solomon, the suspect, reportedly called for a ride-sharing service, argued with the driver, and then slapped him. When the driver got out of the vehicle, Solomon stole the car, and that's when the police initiated the pursuit.
Making left off 43.
Get out of the car! Get out of the car!
Soleiman was chased by state police on I-95 North from Norwalk into West Haven, where he collided with multiple cars and police cruisers. When he pulled onto the exit 43 ramp and stopped under the Campbell Avenue Bridge, the chase came to an end.
It's out of his hands, it's on his lap. I got the knife. It's on the hood. Pull him out. Go to taser! Taser!
While the police officer yelled orders, a trooper smashed the car's window and retrieved the knife. From another angle, it becomes clear what the trooper did next, an action that will leave you in complete shock.
Got a knife! Drop the knife! Drop the knife! I got the knife! It's on the hood! Pull him out!
According to Trooper Brian North, he fired to defend other police officers. However, the state's inspector general concluded that the gunshot wound was not justified. Brian's trial started on March 4th, and here is what happened in the trial. When North testified on March 8th, 2024, he said in his testimony that he shot Soleiman because he thought that the lives of fellow officers were at risk. What is interesting is the fact that this cop thought that a group of armed police officers could be harmed by a 19-year-old with a knife.
Now, sir, you were asked a series of questions about you firing your weapon in this towards Mr. Suleiman. Please describe again why you fired your weapon that day.
It was to protect the West Haven officer and Trooper Jackson from the threat of imminent death or serious physical injury.
And you were just shown a series of still photographs that included Trooper Jackson's body-worn camera. You recall seeing those?
Yes.
And again, your decision to use force the way you did was based on what?
It was based on what I was perceiving at the time.
During the trial, the lawyers kept delving deeper into the circumstances surrounding Soleiman's death, relying on video footage and police department testimony for further examination.
Who was in charge?
There was no one person in charge.
And who made the decision to break the passenger side window?
It was a West Haven officer, Officer Rappa.
Did that decision change the overall situation?
Yes, once the glass of the window was broken, Mr. Suleiman, it startled him, and the situation, he rapidly escalated it.
Prior to the breaking of that window, what was Mr. Suleiman's state?
He appeared to be unconscious and unresponsive.
We watched a video of you interacting with Trooper Richter and Sergeant Kiley. Do you recall that?
Yes.
The prosecution argued that North's early remarks after the shooting were contradictory, as the officer ordered Soleiman to drop the knife completely, ignoring the fact that he shot Soleiman 7 times.
So we're not trained to reassess after each shot. We're trained to reassess after each use of force, which would be an engagement. So that brief series of shots you would then reassess after that.
And Attorney Devlin had asked you, if I'm quoting correctly, did you fire as many times as you wanted to? My question is, how many times did you want to?
There was no number. It was just whatever I thought was necessary to stop the threat at hand.
And then you use the term reassess. At what point would then you have the ability to reassess?
Immediately following shots being fired.
You were asked questions about the fact that you shot through glass, correct?
Correct.
What impact does firing a weapon when shot through glass have on the shot?
Objection, no foundation.
The cop clearly replied that he isn't trained to assess the situation after shooting. He also explained that his response was influenced by the information given to them that Suleiman was armed and involved in a carjacking.
That if that West Haven officer was not going through that window, but was standing outside as is shown in the video, it would not be objectively reasonable to shoot that gun at Suleiman, right?
Objection, Your Honor, that's speculation.
He's asking, he had him read the state police criteria there, and I'm asking him if no one's going into that car, it's objectively unreasonable to shoot the driver.
Can we just do it one step at a time?
Sure.
When the officer asked him if using the gun was an objectively reasonable response given the situation, the officer remained silent. He was unable to defend the use of deadly force above de-escalation.
Is he guilty or not guilty of the lesser included offense of criminally negligent homicide in violation of Connecticut General Statutes 53A, 55, with which he stands charged?
Not guilty.
Does the court accept this verdict?
Yes.
The jury may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, please listen to your verdict as it is accepted in order recorded by the court. You, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, each of you do say unanimously that the defendant is not guilty of the crime of manslaughter in the first degree with the firearm in violation of Section 53A, 55, paren A, paren 3, and Section 53, 55A of the Connecticut General Statutes as outlined. You, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, each of you do say unanimously that the defendant is not guilty of the crime of the lesser included offense of manslaughter in the second degree with the firearm in violation of Connecticut General Statutes 53A, 56, paren A, paren 1, and Section 53A, 56A of the Connecticut General Statutes as outlined. You, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, each of you do say unanimously that the defendant is not guilty of the lesser included offense of criminally negligent homicide in violation of Section 53A, 55 of the Connecticut General Statutes as outlined.
The Milford jury found Trooper Brian North not guilty on all counts by a Milford jury, in spite of a strong popular disapproval and conviction that he was guilty. Following 2 weeks of testimony and several days of discussion, the jury gave a verdict that ended the trial. Now, while this cop was let go easily, this next judge did something completely unexpected in the courtroom.
Before they don't get brazen with me.
During a night of chaos in Kenosha, sparked by the police killing of 29-year-old black man Jacob Blake, who was left paralyzed after an altercation with a cop, Rittenhouse armed himself with an AR-15 style gun. As things got quickly out of hand, Rittenhouse opened fire, killing 36-year-old Joseph Rosenbaum and 26-year-old Anthony Hubert, in addition to wounding 26-year-old Gage Grosskreutz.
You indicated that at no time did this gun, this AR-15, ever leave the state of Wisconsin. Is that right?
Other than the night after, other than that.
Before the shootings?
Correct.
There was a time, though, where you wanted to have it with you down in Illinois, isn't it? It wasn't there?
I believe there was a time when me and Dominic were mad at each other. Yeah.
You were mad at Dominic?
Me and Dominic were mad over something.
And you wanted to have the gun with you down there?
I think I said something along those lines.
You'd agree with me that... Let me back up for a second here. You have testified to this jury that you used deadly force against Joseph Rosenbaum, Anthony Huber, the man who attempted to kick you in the face, and Gage Grosskreutz on the night of August 25th, correct?
Yes.
And you did that because you felt that your life was in danger from those 4 people, correct?
Yes.
And you are telling this jury that it was, in your mind, justified to use deadly force to protect your own life, correct?
Yes.
Many of the most contentious topics of the country are addressed in this case, such as vigilantism, self-defense, the Second Amendment, violence during racial justice protests, and the different perceptions of how the legal system and law enforcement handle white people and people of color.
You'd agree with me that you were not allowed to use deadly force to protect that CarSource building, correct?
Well, I wasn't using deadly force to protect the property. I used deadly force to protect myself, so...
Please listen to my question and answer my question if you can. You'd agree with me that you were not allowed to use deadly force to protect that CarSource building, correct?
Yes.
You'd agree with me that you were not allowed to use deadly force to stop someone from smashing the windows of an unoccupied parked car, correct?
I don't think you could use deadly force for that.
You'd agree with me that you can't use deadly force to stop someone from lighting a metal dumpster on fire, correct?
Correct.
You'd agree with me that you can't use deadly force to stop someone from tipping over.
Correct.
You'd agree you can't use deadly force to stop someone from lighting a flatbed trailer on fire, correct?
Correct.
You'd agree with me that you can't use deadly force to stop someone who is about to start an unoccupied car on fire, correct?
Prosecutor Thomas Binger was accused by lead defense lawyer Mark Richards of disobeying earlier decisions and trying to provoke a mistrial. However, tensions in the courtroom increased as Binger replied and prompted an unexpected response from the judge.
Mr. Richards? Your Honor, Mr. Binger is either forgetting court's rulings or attempting to provoke a mistrial in this matter. He knows he can't go into this, and he's asking the questions. I asked the court to strongly admonish him, and the next time it happens, I'll be asking for a mistrial with prejudice. He's an experienced...
First of all, Your Honor, this was the subject of a motion. I'm well aware of that, and the court left the door open.
For me, not for you.
My understanding of
You should have come and asked for reconsideration. You did on the one motion, and in fact, I granted your motion for reconsideration.
That was not our motion.
Excuse me. I did. I granted.
We did not move to reconsider.
That was their motion.
We have not filed any motions to reconsider in this case.
That was their motion for reconsideration, which I denied. But I said I denied it, or I indicated a bias towards denial is what I did.
When prosecutor Thomas Binger implied the court had allowed for specific lines of interrogation, including those he pursued with the defender, the judge dismissed the jury and became enraged.
Why would you think that that made it okay for you, without any advance notice, to bring this matter before the jury? I was astonished when you began your examination by commenting on the defendant's post-arrest silence. That's basic law. It's been basic law in this country for 40 years, 50 years. I have no idea why you would do something like that. And it gives, well, I'll leave it at that. So I don't know what you're up to.
May I respond?
Yes.
We filed an other acts motion on this exact issue because, in my mind, and I argued this, it is identical to what was going on the night of August 25th, in the sense that the defendant was using this exact same weapon. He was using it in a manner to try and protect property.
No, he wasn't.
Your Honor, with all due respect...
I'm not going to rehash the motion. That's absolutely untrue. No. Your argument's of record. My comments are of record, and why I ruled as I did is of record. There's nothing that I heard in this trial to suggest anything's changed, even if you're correct in your assumption that you know more than I did at the time.
What came next was extensive verbal attacks aimed directly at the prosecutor. According to the report, the prosecutor's strategies in the past have contributed to worsening these serious issues in high-profile cases.
May I finish, please? I'd like to have a chance to make a record if I could, without being interrupted, if that's okay. He has mentioned that he's acknowledged that he's used this gun to protect property. He's also just acknowledged that he knows he can't do that. I am attempting to impeach him now with the prior August 10th incident, 15 days prior, involving the same gun, where he is threatening to use that gun to protect property. It goes...
He has the gun with him.
Your Honor, he is saying he wished he did so he could shoot people.
You know, there's a lot of difference between commenting about something when you haven't got a gun and threatening someone when you do.
You know, it's interesting, Your Honor, because the entire defense theory in this case is Joseph Rosenbaum, who was unarmed.
I want you to tell me what the defense theory of the case is. I want...
May I respond to what you just said, Your Honor? I'd like to respond to what you just said. I apologize, Madam Court Reporter, but I'd like to try and make a record without anyone interrupting me, if that's okay.
Binger, however, kept his cool and claimed that he had filed an other acts petition to provide evidence indicating that Rittenhouse said that he wanted to use his weapon to protect property rather than people.
I've admitted that kind of evidence in other trials when it's been appropriate. I didn't admit it in this case because, to me, what I've heard in this trial, and by the way, Mr. Richards absolutely correctly points out that just hours ago, I said I had heard nothing in this trial to change any of my rulings. So why?
Testimony, Your Honor.
Pardon me?
That was before the defense testimony.
Don't get brazen with me. You knew very well. You know very well that an attorney can't go into these types of areas when the judge has already ruled without asking outside the presence of the jury to do so. So don't give me that. That's number one. Number two, this is propensity evidence. I said at the time that I made my ruling, and I'll repeat again now for you, I see no similarity between talking about wishing you had your AR gun, which you don't have, so that you could fire rounds at these thought to be shoplifters, and the incidents in these cases, which are not, there's nothing in your case that suggests the defendant was lying in wait to shoot at somebody.
Judge Schroeder lost his cool with the prosecutor, but in doing so, he mischaracterized the case and was not corrected. The prosecution said that Rittenhouse was the one who started the altercation and provoked the people he shot.
When you were I said you were over the line, close to or over the line on commenting on the defendant's pretrial silence, which is a well-known rule. I'm astonished that would have been an issue. So I don't want to have another issue as long as this case continues. Is that clear?
It is.
Now moving on, we have this disgusting police officer who thought he could use excessive force and get away with it.
To find the defendant, Adam Coy, guilty of as he stands charged in count 1 of the indictment.
There is no better feeling than seeing justice being delivered and a corrupt cop being held accountable for his actions. Today we will explore cases where these officers face life sentences in courtrooms for their despicable crimes. Starting off with the case of Columbus police officer Adam Coy, who shot and murdered 47-year-old Andre Hill in December 2020. Hill was unarmed and holding a cell phone in his hand. Just a week later, Coy was fired from the police department. Finally, in October of 2024, Coy's trial began. He was being charged with first-degree murder.
1 count of murder, classified felony. 1 count of felonious assault, felony in the 2nd degree, and 2 counts of dereliction of duty, both misdemeanors in the 2nd degree.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. May it please the court. I am Mark Collins, 006-1207. Adam, can you hear us?
Yes, sir, yeah.
Previously, you gave me permission to sign your name to the not guilty form as well as the agreement to have your presence waived and go forward with the video conferencing today, correct?
Absolutely, and thank you.
Adam, however, pled not guilty to all 3 charges, and his defense team was now trying their best to get the least possible bond for him.
In addressing the first one, Your Honor, to assure someone's appearance at court, my client has no record in any way, shape, or form, Your Honor. My client voluntarily did a walkthrough of the scene on December 22nd, Your Honor. My client, in addition, gave a voluntary statement to the authorities, and then my client voluntarily met with the BCI agents for about a 2-hour and 15-minute interview. In addition, Your Honor, he was asked to turn himself in at an appropriate place and time in which he voluntarily did that. So everything that we've asked of him since December 22nd, Your Honor, he has done. In addition, when he was employed by the Columbus Police Department, he was required to go to a psychologist. He did that as well, Your Honor. In addition, Your Honor, we have his passport if the court would deem that, but it's clear that he's not a flight risk, Your Honor, and that he will appear for every and all court appearances, Your Honor.
Adam Coy was a police officer for 19 years, during which he faced 90 citizen complaints. His history of reacting aggressively under stress made it clear that releasing him from jail would pose a significant risk.
The court was guided to look at the nature and circumstances of this individual case. And that's important for this case, Your Honor, because these cases are unique. They're like no other cases that you normally preside over upon arraignments. And that they're unique, Your Honor, because this is not a whodunit or anything of that nature. It's simply whether or not our client was justified in using the force he did, and that will be determined, Your Honor, with a jury. So they're unique, Your Honor, because he's not arrested at the scene. As opposed, on December 22nd, he actually had to walk the BCI agents there. So it's a process that normally happens in these types of cases, Your Honor. Sometimes it could be a threat to the community. Sometimes the government might ask for a high bond based on potential threat. He's not a threat today, Your Honor. He wasn't a threat today when he met with the agents. He wasn't a threat when he walked them through. He has not been a threat in each and every doctor's appointment he's gone to in his interaction in the community. He has no access to guns, Your Honor. He has been terminated from his employment at the Columbus Police Department. So this unique situation of an on-duty use of force is not likely to happen again. Of course, he doesn't have a prior record, not on bond or anything of that nature, that the other factors to look at.
It was disheartening to see the defense attempt to frame the case as a routine act of self-defense when it was clearly a case of cold-blooded murder.
Your Honor, the closest thing this court normally comes to in cases like this is a self-defense case. Various self-defense cases that are currently in the system that we actually represent, Your Honor. We have bonds, people who are out on bond, anywhere from $25,000 to $250,000. And again, the only aspect in this case, Your Honor, is to determine whether or not the force that was used was reasonable or not viewed through the eyes of a reasonable police officer. And ultimately, a jury will determine that. Based on all those factors, Your Honor, we're requesting a reasonable bond. If the court has any other questions for us, I'm happy to answer.
Okay, thank you.
Finally, it was the prosecution's turn to address the judge, and they made a compelling case for raising the bond.
The difference, the state feels that the difference between those prior, goodwill things by Adam Coy and today is that today he is indicted for a felony, multiple felonies. He's indicted, and as you well know, the sentence life sentence. So you can imagine that someone who is faced with that may have ideas of not coming to court. So that is the difference between this prior corroboration and where we stand today. As a result, Your Honor, the state is asking for a high bond in this case.
After hearing both sides, the judge finally decided, and it is quite safe to say that she stood with the right side.
All right, sir, I'm accepting your not guilty plea. I've considered the arguments by both sides with respect to bond. I am setting bond at $3 million surety or appearance, $20,000 recog, and as a further condition of bond, defendant shall have no contact and stay away from any of the witnesses or addresses identified in the indictment. Also, defendant shall have no contact with other police officers for the request. Thank you.
Would the court consider the $3 million value, or maybe put on the record the components for that make up the $3 million, just so we have that for the next year?
I'm sorry?
Would the court consider lower than the $3 million, or if not, would you put on the record some of the concepts as to why you picked the $3 million?
You know, that is based on everything that I've heard. That is the bond that I've set. If you wish to address it with the assigned judge, duty judge, feel free.
Appreciate
that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
The judge did an excellent job, ensuring the cop received no special treatment. The $3 million bond was already a heavy blow, but things went from bad to worse as the trial unfolded and the jury delivered its verdict.
Count 3, reckless homicide. We have a general confusion on how to think of this concept and apply the instruction. 1. Can you define heedless indifference? The response from the court was heedless indifference is not a legal term, so you must rely on your everyday understanding and usage as to that question on behalf of the state. Where you can find the defendant was committing or attempting to commit felonious assault, you must find beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant knowingly, 1, caused serious physical harm to Andre Hill, or caused or attempted to cause physical harm to Andre Hill by means of a deadly weapon. In other words, does the knowingly aspect of this statement apply to both aspects of the definition? And the response from the court was yes.
After answering the jury's questions, Judge McIntosh quickly moved to the verdict, which would surely grant some peace to the... Mr. Coy was found guilty on all 3 charges and faced the prospect of a long prison sentence, potentially life behind bars.
Your Honor, we would ask that you delay the enforcement with regards to any sentencing, Your Honor. Specifically, Your Honor, with regards to custody, Your Honor. As the court's well aware, he is in ongoing treatment for cancer. He has a PET scan, I believe, on the 12th, Your Honor. He has multiple appointments that he moved from during the trial till after, Your Honor. There's about, I think, 80 pills that he takes in combinations during the daytime and the nighttime. We would need some time in order to get that supply ready, Your Honor, if the court enforces the custody action. Your Honor, this is a situation in which he is in the middle part of a bone marrow transfer. It has partially taken. It's hopefully going to take, but we would ask that he remain. He has had no issues while in pretrial services, Your Honor. He has electronic monitoring on. He is not going anywhere, Your Honor.
The state requested the judge to revoke the defendant's bond, prompting his attorney to argue that he required numerous medication. Well, let's see how the judge responded to this plea.
I'd like to set a sentencing date. The court is not inclined to move forward with sentencing today. I don't know if there are victim impact statements that need to be provided to the court, or at least opportunities for victims to any documentation with respect to treatments that are scheduled.
Okay.
And then the court also is going to inquire of the jail to see what they're capable of. I've had those conversations previously with the jail for persons that have either been in some sort of treatment or have some kind of injury.
The other thing, Your Honor, we do have medication with us for tonight. Is it okay if we give that to the deputies now for them to administer?
Yeah, I don't want him to be deprived of any of his medications. I don't know who I'm going to need to have a conversation with to make sure that he gets the medications that he's been taking up to this point.
And just like the cop's bond was revoked and he was heading straight to prison, where he would wait for his sentencing day. On the other hand, this is how satisfied Andre Hill's family were after the verdict.
You don't get these sort of verdicts, so this is almost historic to get a verdict like this. Did it come as a surprise at all, or were you fearful that you wouldn't hear the guilty verdict that you wanted to hear?
No, I wasn't fearful because I know what I saw. I know what happened. I know what he did. So, I mean, there was no question in my mind.
What about the FOP president? He literally just said right before you came out, Andre wasn't complying. He was told to put his hands up, to show his hands, and he wasn't compliant. But
Well,
the video shows something different.
The jury spoke different as well.
What's it been like to have to wait 4 years for this moment?
It's been way too long. It's been way too long. But I'm glad that it's over. I mean, it won't bring Andre back, but hopefully it will set a precedent across the board for everyone else. This is not something that we can tolerate.
When you saw Adam Coy walk back to the back of the courtroom and you knew he was going to jail tonight.
I didn't see him. We left the courtrooom by then.
But
So I
knowing
didn't
that
see
he will
him.
be behind bars tonight, what are your thoughts?
I'm glad. I mean, because at least he's still breathing. My brother is gone, so at least he still has his life. I mean, that's really not a fair trade, but it is what it is.
The sentence has yet to be announced, but it is clear it will likely result in nothing less than life behind bars. While this cop's life came crashing down, this next officer did something which will leave you speechless.
This is a case about an abuse of an incredible power.
This is Deputy Zachary Wester, who was accused of planting in the vehicles of innocent people, and he was ultimately charged with 67 counts of racketeering, drug trafficking, and disorderly conduct.
A substance that appears to be an illegal narcotic. Do you know anything about that?
I do not.
Have you ever seen this before?
No. No, what is that?
I'm just trying to figure out how that stuff got in your car. You're gonna go to jail today for possession of methamphetamine, okay?
Oh man, dude, I'm serious, dude. Anything, what you want me to do, man?
It's yogurt, sir.
I know. Okay.
It's yogurt.
How about this, though?
That is not mine.
were there. I did not put the narcotics there.
During his trial, over 12 people came forward and presented their stories to the jury, where they had been abused and assaulted by this monster. He was eventually found guilty on 19 of those 67 charges.
In the state of Florida versus Zachary Tyler Wester, case number 19-CF-431. We, the jury, find as follows as to the counts charged and the information. Count 1, guilty of racketeering as charged. Count 2, not guilty. Count 3, not guilty. Count 4, not guilty. Count 5, not guilty. Count 41, guilty of possession of controlled substance related to February 15, 2018, as charged. Count 42, not guilty. Count 43, not guilty. Count 44, guilty of possession of a controlled substance related to April 17, 2018, as charged.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your time and consideration of this case. I also wish to advise you of some very special privileges enjoyed by jurors. No juror can ever be required to talk about the discussions that occurred in your jury room.
Finally, after the jury reviewed each count, the judge took the stand and delivered his sentence, ensuring that he spends the better half of his life behind bars.
Court now sentences you as follows in this case. As to count 1, racketeering, which is a first-degree felony, you are sentenced to serve 5 years in the Florida Department of Corrections. As to count 7, official misconduct, that's a third-degree felony, you are sentenced to serve 18 months in the Florida Department of Corrections. That will be served concurrent with count 1. As to count 9, official misconduct. As to count 65, false imprisonment, that's a third-degree felony, you are sentenced to serve 1 year and 1 day in the Florida Department of Corrections, consecutive to count 64. Counts 7, 9, 10, 31, 33, 34, 41, 44, 48, 64, and 65 are to be served consecutive to each other for a total sentence in this case of 12 years, 6 months, and 8 days in the Florida Department of Corrections. This sentence of 12 years, 6 months, and 8 days in the Florida Department of Corrections is to run concurrent with a 5-year Department of Corrections sentence in count 1. Therefore, it is the intention of the court that you are sentenced to serve a total of 12 years, 6 months, and 8 days in the Florida Department of Corrections. I'm also going to award the defendant 58 days jail credit as to count 1 and count 7.
Zachary was sentenced to 12 years in prison with no chance of early parole. Moving on, this next cop did the unthinkable and was also sent away for a long time.
Having found the defendant Aaron York Dean guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of the offense of manslaughter, assess his punishment and confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for 11 years, 10 months, 12 days.
In the early mornings of October 12, 2019, Atiana Anderson was fatally shot inside her home by Officer Aaron Dean. The officer immediately resigned from his position and was arrested on a murder charge.
Y'all did fabulous when we did the guilt-innocence verdict, okay? Same rules apply. I don't know what this verdict is. Can't have any emotions, all right? Let's bring him in. Mr. Dean. Verdict reads, we the jury, having found the defendant Aaron York Dean guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of the offense of manslaughter, assess his punishment and confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for 11 years, 10 months, 12 days. They do not assess a fine, and it is signed by the presiding juror. You may be seated. Thank you very much.
Aaron Dean was sentenced to 11 years in prison as he was found not guilty of murder, but guilty of the lesser included offense of manslaughter.
Juror number 1, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror number 3, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror number 4, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror number 6, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror number 9, is this your verdict? Number 37, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror number 38, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your verdict will be received and filed. Thank you very much. Mr. Gill, Mr. Brissett, is there any legal reason why sentence should not be pronounced?
No legal reason.
Mr. Dean, it's the jury having found you guilty of the offense of manslaughter and assessed this punishment. It's the order of the court you be remanded to the custody of the sheriff, be delivered to the director of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice to serve your sentence as required by law. You will receive credit for all the time that you have served in custody on this case from the date of your original arrest up until today, which would be the date of sentence.
It is shocking that this killer cop received only an 11-year sentence for murdering an innocent woman. The presence of a weapon beside her at the time of the shooting played a significant role in this outcome.
If you are indigent and cannot afford a lawyer, I would conduct an indigency hearing to determine if you are indigent. And if you are indigent, I would appoint a lawyer to represent you on appeal and provide you a record of this appeal of this trial at no cost. Is there an allocution? You may be seated. Thank you very much.
Next, this sheriff has multiple charges against him and is about to learn a lesson in court.
I feel like I'm being very much bullied into doing something that's not right. And I want this court to know that Todd Pate holds himself responsible for everything that he did.
Police officers often face the heat of justice in courtrooms, and today we will be looking at some of the best moments when corrupt cops were held accountable by some honest judges. We begin with former Breckinridge County Sheriff Todd Pate, who is far from a typical defendant. He is facing charges of assault, second offense DUI, criminal mischief, and leaving the scene of an accident.
This time is it your desire to change your plea from not guilty to guilty?
Do I have to answer that yes or no, or can I make somewhat of a statement
That is a yes or no answer, sir.
Will I have the opportunity to say anything further?
If it is your intention to change your plea from not guilty to guilty, certainly you'll have an opportunity to make any statement. But if it is not your intent to enter a guilty plea at this time, then I'm going to set your case for jury trial, and you're going to stop wasting my time and everybody else's time this afternoon.
Ma'am, I'm not trying to waste your time.
Then is it your intention to enter a guilty plea at this time or not, sir?
No. Why am I wasting your time?
4 people were hurt in an accident that Todd allegedly caused while driving a car. Shockingly, he fled the scene. When arrested, his blood alcohol was nearly twice the legal limit.
Why am I wasting your time?
Mr. Chambers, what is the Commonwealth's position at this time, sir?
Your Honor, we would move to revoke the defendant's bond at this time.
Let's get back on the record and see if we can sort this out. At this point in time, what is Mr. Pate's decision with respect to his guilty pleas?
So I believe I'll just let him answer that question if it pleases the court.
All right. So, Mr. Pate?
Can I say a few things, or?
I need to understand what it is that we're doing here today, Mr. Pate.
Yes, I had every intention of coming in here today and entering a guilty plea. It's difficult for me to enter a guilty plea for a lot of reasons, and I don't want this court to think that I am trying to minimize any responsibility that I had in this situation that occurred.
The controversy deepened as he disputes the assault charge, thinking it was added solely because of his role as a sheriff and his decision to reject a plea deal offered by the prosecutor.
Like I'm being very much bullied into doing something that's not right. And I want this court to know that Todd Pate holds himself responsible for everything that he did. It's hard for me to lay down and plead to felony charges that don't apply.
Is it your intention today to enter this guilty plea?
And if I could address...
This is either a yes or no. Are you going to enter your plea or not?
I guess everybody thinks it's funny.
With credit for time previously served, he eventually entered a guilty plea and accepted a sentence of 75 days in county jail. Now, this case was intense, but the next courtroom showdown will leave you questioning everything.
We've got a complaint of you out here holding up profanities. Okay. I'm not going to tell you again. Okay. You have your ID on you? I don't have my ID right here.
In December of 2018, a YouTuber named Otto the Watchdog held several signs while standing on public land. As cars drove by, many waved and honked in support. What started as a peaceful demonstration was about to take a dramatic turn.
Sheriff's Office dispatch.
Hi, there's some people out here at Interstate 30 and South Elm
that have some very offensive signs.
Officer Johnny Clark led the Royce City Police Department's response to Otto's location, as officers from the department were dispatched to the scene.
Where's Johnny with the other one?
Should be right over here. Thank you.
Yes.
Some guy holding up a sign that says shit is f***ed up and stuff or something.
Still in office.
How are you?
Well, I was doing just fine until just a minute ago. I've already heard you say a cuss word once. So.
What do your other signs say, sir? Sir, what do your other signs say?
What am I doing?
Okay, can I see your other signs?
No, leave my feet away.
Sir, we've got a complaint of you out here holding up profanities.
Okay.
Okay, if you don't let me look at your sign, I'll take you in custody for disorderly conduct.
I'm not being disorderly.
Otto was soon approached by officers who confronted him about his sign. Sergeant Dial was clearly displeased with Otto's firm refusal to consent to search or seize his property despite their demands.
I'm not being disorderly.
Okay. I'm not going to tell you again. All right?
I don't consent to any searches or seizures.
Okay. This is offensive to people that are driving by. And families that are driving by.
Yes.
Yes, it's disorderly conduct.
What's the penal code?
It's disorderly conduct.
Can you read that to me?
It's disorderly conduct.
Okay.
You have your ID on you?
No.
Okay. Now you're filling the ID.
I don't have
Put your hand right here.
The tension reached a boiling point when the senior officer angrily punched Otto's signs out of his hands. Everyone was shocked by the aggression, even Officer Clark.
Roll over. Since he's failing the ID, take him to jail for disorderly conduct.
When we're here answering a complaint and you refuse to identify yourself, that is a crime. When you're displaying these signs and people are calling because it's offensive to them, that is another crime. So yes, you have committed a crime. You've committed two. You didn't warn me. We don't have to warn you. Ignorance of the law.
I asked you politely to see your signs and you said
I
no.
don't consent to any searches or seizures of my property or my person. I'm not going to take it.
In a powerful act of passive resistance, Otto laid down on the ground, showing that the arrest was unlawful. His message was clear, that he wouldn't resist, but wouldn't comply either.
Is that your cell phone and tripod? If it's not, I'm going to leave it sitting here. If it is, I'm going to take it and put it up so somebody doesn't steal it. But if you want to act this way, I'll leave it sitting here and let somebody steal it.
Why would you do that?
Okay. We don't know whose stuff that is either.
I have a question. What am I being arrested for?
The officer just explained.
Now's not time to ask questions. Oh, it is the time to ask questions. You know what? Nobody even asked me to identify. All he did is ask me if I had ID, and I don't have ID. Let me explain something to you, young man. We're not holding court on the side of the road with you. Okay? Well, you're arrested me. I just want to know why I have handcuffs. Any questions you have, you can ask the jail. You can ask the court.
You gonna get up?
I can.
Okay. Roll back over and I'll help you up.
I'm not sure if I can do that either. I would like to see your supervisor right now before you assault me any further. I am being assaulted. I have not committed a crime.
When the officer threatened to leave Otto's camera at the scene for anybody to take, he then worsened the situation.
I have not committed a crime. Get up. I have not committed a crime. I can't get up. You're hurting me. You are hurting me.
Then get up.
I cannot get
then
up
get
like
up.
This. I can't
get up
like this. They lift you up. I'm trying to get up. Matt, please.
Get up.
Well, assist me up instead of trying to.
We're trying to help you up.
Lift you up. Trying to be an ass.
Yes, I've seen the game before. Roll up to your knees and they will assist you up.
Roll up to my knees. I'm a fat man.
Okay.
Help me to my knees.
We already have one.
Well, help me again.
Now they'll lift you straight on your feet. Stand up.
Okay, help me up. I have committed no crime. I have committed no crime whatsoever. Get my equipment.
That's not yours. Remember, I asked you earlier. Come on.
So you're gonna leave my shit on the side of the road. Get my equipment. Get my equipment. You dude, I'm asking for you to get my. Hey, I've committed no crime.
Unlock your car,
no
please.
crime.
I want to turn this phone off.
I ain't turning nothing off. I'm gonna leave it right like that. Put it in evidence.
According to the Texas Penal Code, people are not required to identify themselves until they are under arrest, despite the officer's claims that Otto was held for failing to identify himself.
I asked him if it was his, he didn't want to talk. I heard it on. Yeah. Okay. He knew where his car was. Somewhere up there. If I had to bet.
Still under arrest for failed ID.
I was under arrest, and then I ID'd, as the code says.
No, the code says when you're legally detained, you're required to ID yourself. You did not.
It specifically says arrested. Okay. I didn't do nothing.
What's your phone number?
I didn't do nothing.
In response to this injustice, Otto sued Officer Short and Sergeant Dial, claiming they had violated his First Amendment rights and engaged in malicious prosecution. Otto's attorney expertly undermined the sergeant's case throughout the deposition, leaving him completely vulnerable and unable to justify his conduct.
As I explained earlier, one, it was an officer safety issue because I don't know what the signs are made out of or what they were. They could be used as a weapon. And secondly, we were still investigating whether a crime had been committed, and he was unwilling to show us what the other two signs, or what the sign said, other than what we could see.
Did you believe that Mr. Knowles had an obligation to give you those signs?
What do you mean, an obligation?
Did you have the right to see those signs?
Well, it's part of our investigation.
Did Mr. Knowles have the right to refuse showing you the signs?
Anybody can refuse anything.
Objection form.
Why did you hit the sign so hard?
Objection form.
Sergeant Dial should have a firm grasp of the law after 11 years on the police force, yet his ignorance was clearly evident throughout the deposition.
I don't know what your definition of hard and soft is, and that was 5 years ago.
How do you define hard and soft? You can use your own definition, please.
In regards to what?
The level of force that you apply to the signs.
I mean, I don't know how I would describe hitting a sign soft or hard.
Why didn't you use less force when touching the signs?
Objection. I didn't know I used too much force.
Could you have used less force when touching the signs?
Objection form.
In regards to what? I mean, what was the amount of force that I used?
You said earlier that you conducted an investigation after you arrived on the scene that day with Knowles. What were the results of that investigation?
In regards to what?
In addition to violating Otto's rights under the 1st, 4th, and 14th Amendments, Sergeant Dial's utter lack of understanding about disorderly conduct laws was painfully clear.
Did you find anything during your investigation that caused you to arrest Knowles, that caused anyone to arrest Knowles?
Through our investigation, we determined that disorderly conduct had been committed.
How did disorderly conduct get committed?
Due to the verbiage that was on the signs, and we had received complaints.
His ignorance was a clear sign that he was completely unfit for the job.
If you received the same complaints, and those signs had said something different, would Knowles have been arrested?
The same complaints in what? Because the complaint we had was, it was vulgar and offensive.
What I'm asking you is, if the complaints were the same, but the contents of the signs were different, would Knowles have been arrested?
Objection form.
What if the sign said Blue Lives Matter?
How is Blue Lives? There's nothing vulgar about Blue Lives Matter. There's no profanity in Blue Lives Matter.
Are you saying that if the sign said Blue Lives Matter, Knowles would not have been arrested?
I'm telling you that based on the complaints that we received that day, a guy telling me that he was offended by the profanity and vulgar that was being used in the signs.
Objection, non-responsive.
Sergeant Dial said the arrest was initiated because the sign hurt someone, although he could not name any laws that Otto had broken. It is clear he needs to read up on the Constitution before making any more decision.
If the complaints were the same, but the sign said Blue Lives Matter, would Knowles have been arrested that day?
Objection, son. There's no vulgar or profanity in in the verb or term, the verbiage or term, Blue Lives Matter.
Do you think anyone that says a bad word publicly should be arrested?
No.
Why not?
Did someone complain on them, or are they just out there just throwing a fit? No complaints. I mean, there's several reasons why we would not arrest someone. I mean, if nobody finds it offensive, then disorderly conduct's not met.
So if the language on the signs had not offended someone, Knowles would have been arrested, or would he not have been arrested?
So you're telling me we didn't receive any calls and nobody complained to us? Would we have arrested Knowles that day?
Correct.
No, we wouldn't not have.
During the deposition, the lawyer took over the situation by interrogating Sergeant Dial incessantly. However, the true surprise was still to come.
What specifically did Clark say to you about Knowles' prior disorderly conduct?
He was explaining it to Knowles that as I'm walking up, he's explaining it to him that, look, I've already heard you out here cussing at people.
So he was talking to Knowles, not you?
That is correct.
Did any motorists complain about the prior alleged profanities that Knowles said before you arrived?
Well, the one gentleman told me about the signs, and regarding what the people on 911 called in about, I do not recall that.
If anyone complained about verbal language and you didn't hear any allegedly profane verbal language from Knowles at the scene?
I did not hear it, but I heard Clark explaining to Knowles that he has already witnessed it or observed it himself.
As he prepared to ask the last question, the attorney knew it would leave the officer completely speechless, and it did.
Do you know one word of profanity that Knowles said?
No, I do not.
And you are not aware of any person that was offended by what Knowles said?
No.
When the sergeant unintentionally acknowledged that the arrest was based only on the placard's content, he immediately exposed the constitutional rights infringement and dug his own grave.
Were you offended by the contents of his signs?
No.
Why did you think they were offensive?
The sergeant's errors mounted as the attorney focused on the First Amendment infringement, underscoring his total ignorance of the law.
So you would arrest somebody if a citizen complained about vulgarities?
Objection, phone. So if a citizen made the police department or dispatch aware that they had used profanities and vulgarities and were offended, would I arrest someone?
That's what I'm asking.
Yes.
Have you arrested more than 5 people in your career?
I believe that would be an accurate statement.
Have you observed more than 10 arrests in your career?
I'd probably say I have observed more than 10 arrests in my career.
It is startling that a 10-year police veteran was unaware of the First Amendment. This then calls into question the caliber of law enforcement training. What sort of personnel are we teaching to serve and defend?
Have you observed more than 25?
That I don't know.
Have you observed more than 30 arrests in your career?
I don't know.
Do you remember any specific details about your training regarding First Amendment rights?
No, I do not.
Are you saying that you don't remember one word from your training regarding First Amendment rights?
Objection. That is correct. We went over the elements of the Constitution, and I believe the First Amendment is part of the Constitution.
But specifically the First Amendment, you don't remember?
Correct.
Do you remember how long you spent studying constitutional rights?
No, I do not.
Have you had any training related to constitutional rights since you became an officer?
I do not recall.
It is baffling that someone in such a high-ranking position could exhibit such a glaring lack of knowledge. How can we trust officers with such critical authority when they don't even understand the basics of the Constitution?
What topics have you been trained on since you became an officer?
I don't recall all of them.
Name one.
Accident investigation.
Anything else?
Well, I'm sure there's others.
Where did you receive the training regarding constitutional rights in 2007?
When I was in the police academy, is that what you're referring to?
I'm referring to the training that you referred to, that you received in 2007 regarding First Amendment rights.
The Collin County College Police Academy.
And who trained you in constitutional rights?
Could not tell you.
Because you don't remember?
You're asking for the instructor's name? No, I do not remember the instructor's name.
This is the result of insufficient instruction on the First Amendment and fundamental right.
Do you remember anything about the protections provided to citizens by the First Amendment?
No, I do not.
Are you aware that the First Amendment gives citizens what's known as the freedom of speech? Have you heard of the freedom of speech?
I have.
What do you think that means?
Interpretations are a dime a dozen, but basically someone can speak freely.
Following the deposition, the city was compelled to settle, and Otto was given $25,000.
First Amendment protect a person from being arrested because of what they say.
Objection form calls for legal conclusion.
Do I answer it?
Answer.
I think at times it may.
Has the police department provided you with any subsequent training on constitutional rights since you've been an active officer?
I do not recall.
Have you received any training, guidance, or instruction regarding First Amendment rights while you've been a police officer?
Objection form.
In the police academy, I know we went over the constitutional rights.
But anything since then?
I do not recall.
The sergeant was promoted to lieutenant and suffered no repercussions for his startling ignorance of the law. Well, that brings us to the end of this video. Today we saw how corrupt cops were instantly owned in the courtroom, facing justice for their wrongdoing. It is a reminder that no one is above the law, not even those who are sworn to enforce it. The courtroom exposed their actions for what they were, and it is clear that accountability is crucial in maintaining trust in our law enforcement. If you agree, please support us by liking this video. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out how these evil parents were sent to jail with the help of their kid.
And if they don't, then it's their fault that the child is acting like us, which is what he's doing.